All right, it's the Watch What Happens Live after show. We've got Senator Kamala Harris and Laverne Cox. Laverne's documentary is called Disclosure on Netflix now. Laverne, Reese B emailed and wants to know if you're on any dating apps currently, or do you check your DMs for possible interest?
I am on dating apps because people who slide in my DMs are not. No.
Oh, really?
Yeah, so I'm on 3 dating apps at the moment.
All right. Senator Lauren K. emailed and wants to know what was going through your mind when Jeff Sessions said that your questioning was making him nervous at that iconic Senate Intelligence Committee hearing. And have you eaten a Keebler cookie since?
That's really good. What was going through my head is how can he take on a role of serious leadership in the United States government?
Right.
Can I just take a moment? Because one of my favorite moments when you were questioning a member of this cabinet happened when the current Attorney General said, "I'm grappling with the word suggest." And you're like, and it just was, I'm grappling with the word suggest.
I know, there are these moments, Laverne, and I didn't prepare for that. I didn't know he was going to say that. I couldn't believe he actually said it. And, when I'm sitting in those hearings, I'm there because I just want answers. Like, just give the American people the truth instead of let's carve through all this other stuff and just get to the truth. And
I think that was very illuminating, though. I think for anyone who is paying attention, I think him grappling with the word suggest told us everything we needed to know in that.
And so long ago, right? And then it's been consistent. He's been revealing himself since that day, so that now there's no question that he thinks of
it's more than a suggestion. It's clear.
Right? Yeah, right.
Yes,
right.
It is.
That's right.
That's right. Senator, swiftly growing call for the removal of monuments throughout the country that celebrate Confederate generals and leaders. Thoughts on that?
Yeah, I mean, look, the part of the reason that we are where we are today is that we have not appropriately, sufficiently, accurately depicted America's history and its original sin and the sins that then derived from that. Mm-hmm. And if you look at the history of these Confederate monuments, a lot of them were around the time that we were actually trying to, as a country, move toward a restoration and move toward what we needed to do, and there was a whole push by white supremacists during that era to honor these Confederate, as people have called them, traitors, people who were willing to fight against their own country to enforce and retain slavery of other human beings. So I get that, and it is important that America remember its history in a way that we will remember it, we will teach it, but for the sins of our country, we don't honor it and we don't celebrate it. So there is that. And then in addition, though, we have to understand that meaningful acknowledgement and respect and homage to the realities of our history means, like Laverne was saying, putting in place policies and reforms that correct these generational, long-standing abuses and frankly, racism.
Yeah. Senator, I am so worried about voter suppression, and this seems like one of the things that this current administration will have been very effective at, closing down polling places in areas that, need to vote, minority communities. Are there steps being taken before November to prevent this, or what can people do?
So I have a bill called the Vote Safe Act that would give money to states to put in place vote by mail if they don't have it, early voting so people could vote up to 20 days before the election, and also safe voting if people do have to go to the polls. So things like curbside voting and putting in place standard wait time. So instead of people standing in line for hours, that they would create a standard of a certain number of minutes, and people would not have to wait more than that number of minutes. But, you know, to your point, Andy, look, in 2013, the Supreme Court gutted the Voting Rights Act. And right after that, almost 24 states, through their state legislatures, put in laws that were designed to prevent folks from voting, particularly Black folks, but students, Native Americans, and others. And to the point that in North Carolina, a court that reviewed it said that they wrote it, that the legislature wrote it with, quote, surgical precision to prevent Black folks from voting. So we have the suppression that's taking place, you know, purging the rolls, things like that. And we also, I serve on Senate Intelligence Committee. We also have now also the modern version, in addition to all the classic versions, which is foreign interference in our election. And be clear about that. When Russia interfered, and they did, in the 2016 election for president, they targeted Black folks. They targeted folks who they knew would have some righteous level of distrust in the system with misinformation to turn folks off from voting, so that, you know, folks would basically say, look, I got to go pick up the kids. I don't have time for that. That, in effect, is voter suppression also. So what we have to fight for is to get around the laws that have been put in place, and that's through, you know, people like Stacey Abrams doing an incredible job, the Lawyers Committee, the NAACP Legal Defense Fund, filing those lawsuits in court to stop this kind of legal stuff. But we also need to take to the streets and make sure that people are registered to vote, and we can bypass the obstruction that will be in place in this election in 2020 to make sure that everyone's vote matters, that they are voting, and that their vote is counted.
Senator, I'm sorry, with on that point, because that your bill sounds amazing. Obviously, Mitch McConnell's probably not going to bring it to the floor for a vote. So then, hopefully, if we are able to flip the Senate and flip the presidency, then I know, I believe it was HR 1, the bill that would, that the House passed, that would reform our elections, would like make all these laws that they're trying to do and to suppress votes in all the states. Like, what is there a will? Do you think there's a we have to have policy in place federally to protect people's right to vote? Like, that is like the most basic thing, and we need to reform the way our elections are funded. What is your sense of that? Obviously, if we are indeed able to flip the Senate and the presidency.
You hit it on the head. So HR 1 basically would put teeth back in the Voting Rights Act, and that's what we need, because then we have the ability to go into those states that have a history of suppressing the vote. And if they try and change the rules, we can actually get in there and make sure that the rules are fair. And if they're not, they don't go into effect. So to your point, the core piece here that is within our grasp in the next few months is that we take back the Senate and we take back the White House. And it is within our grasp. And that's where I just want to say that, you know, in the midst of this pandemic, in the midst of the 40+ million people that have lost their jobs in just the last 100 days, in the midst of the public collective mourning over George Floyd and Breonna Taylor and Ahmaud Arbery and so many others, let us not let this dampen our spirit to fight. Because when we fight, we win. And so this is a moment that really does challenge us to, do we believe in the power of the people? One of the best ways the power of the people is expressed is when we vote. It is within our grasp to take back the Senate, take back the White House, and take back the soul of America.
Amen. Thank you.
Amen. I'm going to leave it there. Thank you, Senator. Thank you, Laverne. I really appreciate you hanging out with us tonight.
Thank you.
For more, click around BravoTV.com, guys. Thank you so much.
Yeah.